I think something that's a tale of our time is something that in its contemporary time, when it's written, speaks about the time that it's in, the values or what people think or how people feel, and gives context to what things were like in that time. But even in the future, it can inspire people, it can give them hope and make them feel and think about how things were then, how they are now, and what they can be in the future.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of Our Times. This is a show where we discuss the stories that move us, what makes them so meaningful, and why others could or should find meaning in them as well. This is not a spoiler-free show, so bear that in mind as you continue to listen. We tackle books, movies, podcasts, and more. Where there's a story, there is a reason to read. I'm your host, Amanda Stevens, and joining me today is my guest and friend, Ben Brommell. Welcome, Ben.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Before we get started, is there anything that you would like to say to introduce yourself?
My name is Ben. I'm 33. I've been living in Taiwan in Hsinchu for the past 8 years, and I'm a furry artist.
Mm-hmm. So what story are we talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about a coming-of-age slice-of-life manga called I Think Our Son Is Gay.
Yeah.
This is the first volume of it.
Now, we'll get into just a few reasons why this is, in my opinion, maybe especially meaningful towards the end. But very quickly, before we get started, for those of you who may not know what a manga is, it is a comic or a comic book. It usually works more like a graphic novel in terms of length, and it's usually produced in Japan, though there are kind of copycats who would produce manga, but just in other countries. So that's what we're talking about today. And this is a long-running series, right? How many volumes are there?
There are 5 volumes in total. It originally started, I believe, as a web comic or posted online that then eventually got put together into published volumes.
Okay. And so today we're only going to be talking about volume 1. So if you guys like what you hear, you should definitely go and check it out because it seems super heartwarming, which is another reason why I'm excited to give this to you guys today because it'll just be a nice little dose of feel good for your Thursday evening.
It's a wonderfully charming little manga that I think a lot of people can take a lot from in reading it.
Unlike some Western comic books, a lot of Japanese comics are written and illustrated by the same person. In this case, the writer and illustrator is somebody who goes by, I think it's a pen name, Okura. So if you want to look it up later, that's going to be I Think Our Son Is Gay by Okura. And we don't really have anything else to say ahead of time, so Ben, let's get started. Could you give us a summary of I Think Our Son Is Gay?
Sure. So it is a manga that follows Hiroki Aoyama, who is a 10th grader. This takes place in Japan. Follows him and his family, his younger brother Yuri, who's in the 8th grade, his mom Tomoko, his dad Akiyoshi, and Hiroki's sort of crush, Daigo.
His friend / crush goals.
Exactly.
Daigo.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it follows them going through his day-to-day life, the different things that happen, whether it's commenting about his mom's cooking or troubles that he's having at school with math class, just general slice of life events that are happening. So there's not a strong plot of saving the world or anything like that. It's just, here is this boy, here's his life. But what makes it interesting and what makes it, I guess, a bit different than other queer or gay manga and stories is that this does not follow Hiroki. The narrator and the person from whose perspective this is told is his mother.
Tomoko.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that also kind of differentiates it from a lot of coming-of-age stories as well. Usually it's your own personal experience or like that one character's personal experience from their point of view that we can see them grow from. But in this case, it's observational.
Exactly, yeah. So you get to see from the mom's perspective how her son is reacting to these events in his life. You know, obviously high school, first crushes and things like that are always a big time in many people's lives. And so being able to see these events play out, but from another perspective, I think is very fresh. And obviously the title of the manga is I Think Our Son Is Gay. it becomes quite clear very early on from Hiroki's behavior, his accidental slip-ups and things like that, that the mom assumes or suspects strongly that her son is gay. Yeah,
as per the title.
As per the title. Whether it's, him musing that when talking about his mom's cooking, hoping that his eventual boyfriend will cook as well, and then kind of catching himself and flushing red and going, girlfriend, I didn't mean to say boyfriend.
Yeah, it was a mistake. Haha, funny joke.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or, accidentally leaving a photo book of muscular men on his desk in his bedroom, or treasuring a keychain that his crush had given him and feeling incredibly crushed that he'd lost it and overjoyed when it finds its way back. Things like that just kind of point to the mom, remarking like, I think our son is probably gay, but she never approaches it with judgment.
Yeah.
She always approaches it with love and support and hoping well for her child, that no matter what is happening, he'll be able to work his way through it. And she doesn't want to kind of violate his privacy by just outright telling him, hey, I know that you're gay.
I mean, I guess that is sort of like, since it is observational, is that ever something that she wrestles with? This is also just the first volume, right? So I imagine that this is sort of like an introduction to what is going to be later played out in the next 4 volumes. But is that something that she sort of wrestles with that we can see in this book, where she's like, should I say anything? And I'm not going to say anything. He's not ready to like explore this yet.
There are a couple of times where she'll sound like she's about to mention something and then pivot away. Like one chapter where they're watching baseball players on TV and they're both kind of bonding about which baseball players are attractive.
Oh, yes.
Before Hiroki, of course, catches himself and is like, those are the kind of guys that the girls at school like.
Yeah, I just want to be like them. I don't want to be like with them. It was a slip of the tongue.
Exactly, yeah. So she kind of bonds with him in these ways as sort of subtly as she can.
Yeah, kind of trying to like slantly show him it's fine. I don't mind, actually. And in fact, I still love you. Everything is still good.
Exactly.
Okay.
So she expresses her love as much as she can. And his little brother is an interesting character as well, because he seems to be very perceptive. And as you get later in the volume, there are hints that he also knows what's going on and standing up for his brother, because their father, Akiyoshi, works away from home most of the time. He just pops in for a couple of chapters when he's home from his business trips elsewhere in Japan. And he clearly doesn't seem to have the same attitude that the mom does.
He's more of like a traditionalist or a conservative in that way.
Exactly. Like he'll make just casual, rather homophobic comments, not realizing
that his son is gay.
That his son is gay.
Or I guess that his son is likely gay. He hasn't come out yet, but yes.
Yes. So that's the kind of source of conflict. The son is struggling with these feelings, and then whenever his father comes home, like he wants to bond with his father, but then his father will come home and say that like the girls at his work are talking about this new TV show that's like a gay dating show, and he's like, isn't it gross seeing 2 men kiss? And then
it kind of shuts him down, and he's like, I don't feel really comfortable talking to you anymore. Like that's
exactly,
super awkward.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing with a slice of life is that I think we've discussed this maybe once or twice on this show, but what that means is just sort of like scenes of daily life.
Yeah.
So the problems in general are very mundane, such as I think you alluded to once, like having a keychain, losing it, and finding it again. But that being said, do you think you could give us an example of like what does one of these chapters look like before we get into some of the more like analytical questions?
Yeah, sure. So like one of the chapters, just to grab one at random here.
Yeah, get that Foley in there. Flip those pages.
Let's get some ASMR page riffling. One of them is just Hiroki coming home after having done a math test and done rather poorly on the math test. And his mom just talking to him about like, oh, I thought you used to love math.
Yeah.
And then
like
through the conversation, it's revealed that Hiroki did well in math because his previous math teacher was someone that he was kind of
really
into.
Liked.
He really liked
him. He wanted to impress him. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's just like just a short chapter talking about his math score and how he didn't do well, but did well under a previous teacher that he probably had a bit of a crush on. And I think our son is gay is kind of a catchphrase.
Oh, that's the end of every chapter.
Nearly the end of every chapter is her kind of musing like, I think our son is probably gay.
Yeah.
But, this new thing is really good for him.
Although in this case, but he's going to need to study math harder. Something like that.
Pretty much, exactly, yeah.
Okay. I assume most of these problems don't really get resolved because a lot of them are kind of like long form problems, like the math thing, right? So it's mostly just sort of that interpersonal relationship developing.
Exactly. It's just mostly just moments in time. Like, as far as I can recall, I don't think the math thing ever comes up again.
Yeah. It's just like this snapshot.
Exactly. Just snapshots of their daily life. And occasionally there'll be flashbacks to when Hiroki was a child. You know, like he was kissing another boy in the daycare.
They're like in first grade or kindergarten. Yeah. So something like that where you're like, oh, haha, you silly kid.
Exactly. So like his mom had brought that time up.
Right.
And Hiroki internally is just kind of freaking out, like what?
Screaming.
I've already had my first kiss.
No.
Yeah. And it's just great to kind of see that little snapshot of life. Mm-hmm.
So it kind of sounds like the whole book could be sort of summarized into like a collection of vignettes from the mother's point of view as she watches her son grow up.
Yes.
And sort of realizes that he's struggling with his identity.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Like through the course of the whole series, like he starts out in 10th grade, but as most like high school and coming of age stories go, like they move towards graduation as being the sort of like big ending point for most of those kinds of series.
Yeah, yeah.
So like the whole series sort of moves towards that, and like as he grows up and like whether his crush on Dago is going to be reciprocated or not, like whether Dago is even, you know, like Hiroki.
Is he also gay?
Yeah.
Is he bi? Would he be interested in that?
Exactly.
So,
and Hiroki having to struggle with that possibly.
Oh God, yeah. Ugh, navigating a high school crush is almost going back to being a horror movie.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's it's a slice of life / horror.
And luckily it's not from his point of view, I guess. So from the mom's point of view, I imagine it's much like being a teacher, and it's just kind of amusing. It's like, oh, well, good luck, guys.
Yeah.
So then what makes this book so meaningful to you personally?
I think what makes it meaningful to me personally, as I said earlier, a lot of gay media, especially books or comics, things like that, tend to really focus on the relationship between the protagonist and their crush.
Right.
And the sort of hero's journey of that relationship. Yeah. You know, boy meets girl, boy meets boy loses boy.
It's the romance loop.
The romance loop.
Yeah.
And while this does obviously have Hiroki's crush on Dago, it's the focus on the mom. The fact that it's coming from her perspective is what makes it fresh, what makes it interesting, and what makes it unique, and what really kind of drew me to it. And it's also, you know, it's heartwarming to see just how much love she has for her son. Like it comes across in every page, just how much she loves Hiroki, no matter what his sexuality is, no matter who it is that he's interested in. She unconditionally loves and accepts him, even if he's not really ready to admit it himself yet.
Yeah. And I guess it is kind of like we said earlier, it is a really interesting, not quite subversion, but like sidestepping of that typical loop to view, I think, probably something that is really relatable to a lot of straight people who would read that if you have ever gone through this, right? Of like, I don't know, should I, I guess as a straight person who is hearing about this, right? Like, should I bring it up? I don't want to bring it up. Not if they're not ready for it. Maybe I should do it anyway. No, I'm not going to do it. That's okay. You know what? It's fine. It's fine. We're going to do what we always do. And then eventually it's going to come up and we'll deal with it.
And especially here in Asia, where Asia tends to be more conservative with that type of thing. So, you know, this story being out there, I think can be really good for people who are not necessarily comfortable enough yet, or they might have a child that they might think might be gay, and like their immediate response might be to judge or shun or like deny or whatever. But this volume shows that you can still like unconditionally love and accept your child, regardless of who they're into.
Yeah. Well, you know, they say art imitates life, right? And sometimes I think it's the reverse, where art, including books, novels, and comics, can reflect the world that we want to see. And I think in many places in the world, this like is true. But as we were just saying, it's not necessarily true even where we live right now in Taiwan. I think there are different levels of acceptance across the whole country. And in terms of like the people that I know and the people that I've met, you still get that wide variety of people who are really comfortable with their sexuality and like expressing it. They've never had a problem with that in their family. And people who have basically two lives or two alter egos. And so I think especially having this in sort of a manga form, it really gets towards that, a projection of like, this is what it could be like. Aspirational, thank you. Like, this is what it should be like, you know? Going from there, why do you think other people could find meaning in this as well? Or what do you think makes this, volume 1, but sort of the series as well, a tale of our time?
I think that for people growing up in this day and age, it can help them to feel like there are people out there who support them. And also that they're probably not as subtle as they think they are. Moms always know, right? Like, I never formally like sat my mom down and had the chat with her, but she eventually just knew. Probably around the time that I brought a boyfriend home for Christmas during college. Who knows?
It was a really big tell.
I think that probably a giveaway.
That might have given it away.
Yeah.
Can I ask then, do you relate to Hiroki or any of his, in his mind, they're like slip-ups, but in the mom's mind, just sort of those like notes?
Yeah, I mean, I won't go into details, but there were, of course, a couple of like, not necessarily verbal slip-ups like that, but there were certain tells as I was growing up, still living at home before I went off to college and things like that. I never felt panicked about it. Like he'll panic because obviously he's very worried.
Yeah.
I never felt like panicked about that, but that's also why I never felt like I needed to come out to my mom specifically.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think that she would have a problem with it.
Yeah.
And I also feel like it's not something that necessarily needs to be announced. Like straight people don't sit their parents down and say, "Hey, mom, I like girls."
I never brought it up.
No. See, exactly. Yeah. So it just never felt like something that I needed to do. Once I was like, fully accepting, embracing myself, then I was just open with it. And if it comes up in conversation, it comes up. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But of course, I recognize not everyone's in that same position. Right. So something like this, I think, can kind of help them to see that there is support and that there is love and there is doors that are open.
Right. That's what I was just going to go back to emphasize again. Like, perhaps this is inspirational for both sides of the dynamic. If you are a parent or aspiring to be a parent, right? Yep. Here is something that you might go through in the future, right? Here's something that you can use as a guide, if not how to act, at least in like how to receive, your child. Obviously, you love them. You should love them.
Yeah.
And as somebody who might be struggling with this, as maybe a little bit of courage or kind of like a chin-up encouragement, there's always going to be somebody out there who will still love and cherish you and doesn't look at these as slip-ups or mistakes or things you need to cover up.
Yeah.
Actually, multiple people, because his brother is also like on his team. He's just kind of trying to suss him out, maybe.
It's also like, it's kind of implied. I don't think it's necessarily outright stated, but it is implied that his younger brother is probably aromantic or asexual, because as they grow up, he's growing up as well, and so he's a sort of like side story of what's going on in his life. Like, he has tons of female friends, but zero romantic interest in any of them, but also male friends, but no romantic interest in any of them either. He's
sort of the foil to his older brother. So.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Yeah. Well, before we go, I would like to ask you if you could give I Think Our Son Is Gay a one-phrase subtitle of your very own, what would that be?
So, I think our son is gay, and I love him no matter what.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. It's a Sunday morning when we're recording this. I have the rest of the day.
And one last thing that I wanted to add as well is that you had mentioned about, art inspiring life, life inspiring art. And at the end of each volume, there's a little page from the author just kind of giving updates on his own life.
Oh,
and at the end of volume 2, he mentions that because volume 1 had done so well and was, getting attention, people were writing to him and like saying how much it meant to them, it actually led him to come out to his own mom.
Oh, it gave him the courage to do that.
It gave him the courage to come out to his own mom.
I hit the microphone. I was so excited.
And he hopes that she'll be as accepting and great as Hiroki's mom is.
I wonder if that's like sort of a relic of it being a webcomic originally, right? When you can include those like notes at the end of it and kind of keep people up to date. That's so heartwarming.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we are now out of time. But I want to say thank you for coming on the show, Ben.
It's been wonderful.
Thank you so much for bringing this story to my attention. I think it is a wonderful thing to give more attention to, more press. I hope a lot of people go read it because the art is also super cute.
Very, very cute.
It's very cute. So unfortunately, that's all the time that we have for today. So thank you to all of you listeners out there. This has been Tales of Our Time on Radio Taiwan International. I was your host, Amanda Stevens, with my guest, Ben Brommell. And we have been talking about I Think Our Son is Gay, and I Love Him No Matter What. A Tale of Our Time. We'll see you next time.